stuff. And so I took that as a sign to go back and work with the sacred mushrooms again. And so through that, I ended up, acquiring more sacred mushrooms. And once I was out of rehab and started working with the mushrooms, like my experiences were beyond mystical and religious. Like even today, I've not really had an experience like the first three journeys I had post rehab, even to today, with full blown entity visitation and like telepathic communication about my path, which told me that, like, write this book on psilocybin and your higher path will be revealed. It took me 8 months to integrate exactly what that was. And again, I didn't even know what integration was in. So I'm just kind of like trying to make sense of this entity visitation. And finally, through some other synchronicities, and then COVID, wrote my first book. And like within a week, people started approaching me about the church work. And it took me a few months after that to really connect the dots. But I realized that the entity was telling me to write the book on psilocybin to lead me to the church work. And then after my first Bufo ceremony in Texas, when I got off the mat, I'm looking at the lady who's running the church, and like spirit was very strong. Said, these are your people. You lead them, And so that's why I'm here today, because of some full-blown, completely mystical religious experiences working with some very sacred allies. And
Can you elaborate on the entity visit? Tell us a little bit more about that, because that's such an amazing story.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I had never had an entity visit before, and this was not an entity visit in any other dimension but this one. And I was laid on the bed, in a full process. And this voice was like, get up. And I was in my apartment, I had all the lights off. It's like, get up, don't turn the lights on, go to the living room. So I got up and I walked to the living room, and I'm like looking kind of straight forward. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Anubis, this huge 9-foot, huge dog-headed man with glowing red eyes. And I mean, I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you I was pretty much scared shitless when I first saw it. But telepathically, it told me, like, don't look directly at me. Don't look directly at me. And then proceeded to say exactly what I said. And just like, you've been chosen, to write this book, and in that your higher path will be revealed. And that was more or less, there were some other things relayed about my heart's vibration and why, this is all in alignment for me. A lot of that I still don't quite understand today. Still trying to make sense out of that part, but the clear direction was to write this book. And so, and that was the first time it happened. And really, I have had a few other entity visits since then from the same entity, but never quite as just direct as this, right? That would like just clear, you have to do this specific thing or need to do this specific thing. And so, thinking back about that, I mean, I don't know, it was very compelling. And like, I'll tell you this too, is what made me eventually write the book was 8 months later, I was doing a very deep journey on a friend's ranch in Texas. And we were out in the middle of the ranch. And so when we were kind of wrapping up, we head to the truck to get in the ranch truck to drive back to the ranch house. And like, not even knowing about my prior experience. He just looked at me and said, you need to write a book about psilocybin, and, when he said that to me, I got chills all up and down my spine. I knew that the entity was speaking to me from him. And so, that was really what solidified my integration of that, right? I said, this is like, there's too much synchronicity here for me to ignore what is being conveyed to me. And so at that day, when I got home back to Baton Rouge from that journey, I started straight into the research and never looked back since then, to be honest with you.
That's a great story. I got chills listening to it.
It was incredible. Yeah, I've had it, but and even now sober, without taking any type of substance, like there's been several times in those instances that people have spoken to me that I know that it's not their self particularly speaking to me. This